I understand your question. Before you even finish your question, I already know because you always ask very good questions. I totally get your question. Let me reframe what you're trying to ask me. You're saying if we agree that the ancient European went to Africa and stole our knowledge, science, and wisdom to develop their country in Europe, how come they developed that kind of philosophy if the ideas came and knowledge came from Africa? Is that your question? It's a good question. And again, I repeat, and I will always repeat, the answer is simple. It is the ODYSEE. It is the cosmogony. It is the way culture think and see the world. The Greek, the people who created European democracy, European culture, the Greeks, when they went to steal knowledge in Africa, they were shocked and they were shocked at the fact that there was so much science and knowledge in Africa, but it was used in a way that was not drive benefits and control. Do you follow me? They were very, very, very shocked that how can you have this knowledge, this science, this development of the pyramid and all that, and you're not driving profit. You are not using it to control the world and to export that kind of knowledge in a way that you define it, and by defining it makes you to control the knowledge and control the people who learn that knowledge. They were shocked at that. So what they did was a specific example. When those Greeks went to Africa and were observing how the African healer were healing people, somebody is sick, an Egyptian ancient priest would just go and pluck a leaf somewhere or herb somewhere, grind that herb with water and something, and give the person to drink. And the person will drink, and in 2 hours the person is clear and here and healthy, running again. The Greeks are like, what? So the ancient Egyptian knew which herb, which bark of tree, which dirt, what they can take to heal a specific illness. But they did not want to develop that medicine in a formula that could be replicated, therefore control. So they wanted to respect nature and leave that mystery in nature and teach people who are initiated to know that medicine and heal the community and the people. So it was not to be accessed by just anybody because it can be destructive. Remember, everything has two sides, good side and bad side. The same medicine that can heal, used to heal somebody, can be used to destroy somebody else. So, and that's the mystery. And ancient Africans understood that mystery. So, and they wanted to safeguard, protect the community and protect this kind of knowledge and wisdom in a mysterious way where people will only be trained to know how to use it to heal the community. So, and you can see that based on the ODYSEE and the Cosmogony, there was no sense of control or no sense of conquest. Then the Greeks were like, what? So they will go back and look at that same herb or tree that was used to treat somebody, take it to Greece, study it, analyze it, trying to look at the formulas and then find a way to preserve, because first step in medicine is preservation. How do you preserve medication? First, you look at the property of that medication, the property of that herb, and what is in that herb that will heal a specific illness. And you study now that the property of that herb, and second, now how do you preserve it in a way that you can put it in formula. If you use this formula, x times 2 divided by 4 and blah blah blah, you get this result. So anybody can use that same formula and get the same result. That's where they talk about science. which is the next thing we'll talk about, the scientific man. So they try to scientifize it. Remember, the whole thing here is to look at European as male, European as reason, European as scientific man and civilized man and all that. All that comes together. So they try to take something that they think people did not develop it enough in a scientific way that could be replicable, and went now to develop it to make it replicable so that they can sell it massively, produce it massively, sell it massively, and then control the formula. See? When you create your product or invent your product, you control the formula. So you stole that knowledge from Egypt. You went it and study the secret of that knowledge and develop it into formulas that only you know, not even the people there, because they know the natural formula, but you develop it in more what you call scientific formula, and now able to mass produce it to heal people around the world while you control the formula. So you can manipulate it and sell it how much you want, make the profit you want. So Africans were not thinking like that. It wasn't in terms of doing that. So the same thing with treating women. Africans were not thinking that women should be beings that should be controlled. Africans were not thinking that women are emotions and male are reason. Africans were not thinking that, because that means division. Africans always think in terms of harmony. Right? So Africans were thinking we are not separated from nature because we are part of nature. And emotion and reason are almost the same thing. They are complementary. You need emotion, you need reason to complement and to make the whole. Because if you take one more than the other, then it's lopsided. If reason go up and emotion down, it's wrong. If emotion goes up and reason down, it's wrong. So Africans were trying to balance it and really be balanced with that. So because they were not trying to control or conquer any country or any culture. So but the European took that and say, well, we don't believe that you can control, that emotion should be elevated in the same rank of reason. Because then that means there's no separation between us and nature. But there must be a separation between us and nature. Because if you extirpate, you remove yourself from nature, you can then look nature like the other, study it, analyze it, control it. And as soon as the Europeans now separated themselves and elevated men as reason, and it was mostly men who were doing the job, and then they decided to define it that way. So your question of how do they take knowledge and wisdom from Africa and then go and apply it differently, it has simply to do with the ODYSEE, the cosmogony, the way those two cultures look at the world. One look at the world in terms of dividing and assign one gender superior to the other gender, and the other gender is nature. Remember, nature is feminine in almost any language. Nature is the she. You know, the thing you don't know, the thing that overreact, that you need to control. But in Africa, nature is not the she. So you can does that answer your question? No, nature is not the she. It's not the he, it's not the she. Yeah. Nature, I know people say mother nature. That is a Western language, a European language. Nature is nature. Because nature is a whole. It's everything. If you also say nature is a she or nature is a he, you begin to divide again. Because I'm not pitching one thing against the other. I'm not saying one thing is better than the other, anything like that. We're just discussing different perspectives and how things have been interacting and how some culture have been trying to dominate other culture and the thing and all this and that, in a way for you to have that knowledge, that understanding, and then position yourself in relation to that, right? Because he who has the knowledge has the power. So, and you can see that the whole thing, the whole European Oscillate is fueled by a desire to have control and power over. There's nothing else. What motivates the desire to dominate, right, and control. And because she's Taiwanese and we're talking about the Japanese, right? And I didn't know that Japanese were shorter than Chinese, right? So I thought Japanese were like basically taller and handsomer, or if I can say it that way. And but it's obvious that is the strongest piece in Asia. Like they are the white people of Asia, because Japan control almost all of Asia, colonize almost all of Asia. You know, because they had the dream of the greater Asia. So in the same way, you know, that England dominated the world, Japan wanted to dominate Asia. That was the dream, right? So and she told me something like, "Damn, I never thought about it this way." She was like, because we're going to Japan and we were discussing about the Japanese culture, how they are so polite, right? And they're so a little even worse than San Francisco in terms of not directly telling you, oh, and what actually she said that opened my eyes was that, let me get this first. I need to get a document. Okay, was that actually, because I was saying something like, I am skeptical of slick and rash orators, you know, like the Obama style of people who, because people worship Obama like a god, but ignore and choose to not see what the guy has done. That is not okay. So because he's just such a slick talker, he's a charming. When he talks, you can just sleep in peace. So, and I'm, and when I say that, the pro-Obama, they just want to kill me. But I'm like, this is what I see. Because I'm studying Obama and I see he was even more dangerous than Trump. Trump is just brash and talks some things. But if you really look at what Obama was doing in the dark, it's even really dangerous than what Trump is doing, is saying. But because he's charming, look like somebody was saying, he looks good in suit, and you know, people are like, wow. So I was telling her, I really am skeptical of people who are like that, right? And she was telling me, but usually people are like that because they're hiding some kind of inferiority complex, because the people who speak the loudest in a conversation are usually the more ignorant ones. But they want to convince people by the volume of their voice, and they're just uttering some words, and people will just say, no, what he says makes sense. And for her age, I was like, how do you know things like that? This is complex knowledge, right? And it really opened my eyes. I'm like, that's true. Really, people who tend to show that they know more, that they're more eloquent than others, that they're more this than others, actually they're hiding a weakness. There's some kind of inferiority complex. Also, they project some kind of things that they're actually aspiring to. And then she then says that that's the same thing with the Japanese. Because she said the Japanese are very, very, they have an inferiority complex. And because of that inferiority complex, they wanted to prove something to themselves, that they were actually stronger and bigger, and then started to conquer other countries in Asia, you know, to kind of feel good about themselves, that they're not really that inferior, that they're stronger. So, and that makes sense, complete sense, when you look at it from a broader perspective of the European conquest. Why would they want to control and take power and go colonize other people? That is a symptom of a sense of insecurity. Africans never, like I was watching a debate between a British white guy and some brown guy in England there, and discussing about African slavery. And then the guy was saying to the British white person that now you don't want immigrant to come to Europe Remember that you are the one who went to their countries, invaded them through all kind of things, slavery and war and everything, and showed them how your country is better. And now that they're knocking at your door, you say you don't want them anymore. Who created that? And then the white guy was saying, well, I want to remind you that Africans were selling their own African people more before the European even went in there. So they were doing even slavery more than when the European went in there. I was like, whoa, I never thought about this argument. Is it true? So I went to do some research. I realized that it's not actually true, for one. And for two, if I were debating with that white person, I would have asked him, oh, so because Africans was doing African slavery among themselves, so you thought, why don't I get into that and also have a piece of that pie? So because you say you were more civilized than African, you will want to act differently and say this is not civilized. We cannot say human beings. But you didn't do that. You also went to get a piece of your pie and do the slavery even worse and build your own country with those slaves, claiming you're civilized. So are you not contradicting yourself? You could have said to them, no, selling people is not okay. You didn't. So how you cannot come now and say we were doing that, so why don't you do that too? Have you seen African go to Europe and trying to interfere in your wars? Wars of independence, war of revolution, and all this kind of thing? No, because it's not in our African silly. We don't do that. So we'll close the meeting today, but that it is very deep things to talk about. So anyway, yeah, because I'm glad that you say some veil came out of your eyes and in terms of that power and thing. I told you, even my girlfriend, when she told me that, I was like, damn, can't believe I didn't even really think about it this way. Yeah, psychologically it makes sense. Why would anyone or any country want to conquer other countries? I know it's resources and money and all that, but why do you need all of that when you even have enough that is good enough for you, but you want more? It's because of insecurity. You fear that you might run out of. So yeah, so that was the whole deal.